Chase Thomas podcast. My nephew needs me to record. See, I already hate it.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas podcast. From still the aforementioned Chase Thomas coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee, Everything School HQ. Joining me over there from volreport.com, it's Ryan Sylvia. Ryan, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's Hoover time for SEC baseball, SEC tournament baseball starts. So it's been fun. Tennessee got a win number one under their belt. So it's been fun to, I guess, catch up with what's going on in the SEC tournament.
Ryan, we can be honest here on this very program. We're taping this late on a Wednesday. It was fun for a while. The last 30 minutes were
yes,
they were unbelievable. I can only describe it as unbelievable. Pitching changes from Alabama side of things, pinch hits, the bases loaded on Tennessee's side of things, giving up some runs there in the top of the ninth to drag this thing out a little bit more. Couldn't even get AJ through, who was awesome today. That game, we had amazing pace, Ryan Sylvia. We were on our way to a nice, clean, normal Tennessee victory over Alabama. And then the last 30 minutes and the changes and everything else was just it was diabolical, Ryan Sylvia.
It was the pace of play was horrendous. You're right. It was fun. I enjoyed watching most of the game. It got to a point where it was like, all right, and it made me.
We were run away from a run roll. Like it was so mean. Bases loaded, one run and you're in. And
yeah, and it made me feel bad. Like I don't know how they're going to get in all the games they need to with the delay already. They're already like a game, and then you have Tennessee, Alabama, and they're like, yeah, let's just play a 4-hour one today. Maybe a little more than that. Like, let's just get it's like, God, okay. I'm sure, I don't know. I haven't watched the game since Tennessee, Alabama finished, but I'm sure they're still like in the first inning of that next one or something crazy right now. Cause they have the schedule come out for the bracket every time Hoover starts. And surely it's never once had any, like even a day of it go as scheduled. It's always all over the place.
Well, that's been the story of Tennessee baseball all year. Nothing has been the schedule wise. Just throw it out the window because you just have no. I mean, last night we had hail and tornadoes over there through our area, and we get a crazy tornado warning last night. And it was crazy. Like the weather here in Hoover, everywhere else, just weather delays galore here this baseball season.
Yeah, I mean the Auburn series was bad. Vandy wasn't. They caught it very, very bad at the end of the year, and I'm sure. When Hoover already had one, I'm sure there's more coming. It's always rainy. There's always a period down there where it's just a disaster and they have to move everything around. So I'm just waiting for it. We'll see.
Well, speaking of the game itself, and we should clarify, we're not complaining here. It was just, and as folks who are watching, I think you can attest that the game was over when Tennessee was up 9 runs and the bases were loaded and there was one out and they grounded into a double play. Stone Lawless grounded into a inning-ending double play, and you're like, oh, we're going to go through. And then Alabama, of course, had to make it interesting, and by interesting, just drag it out a little bit more to get it down to 15-10. And Tennessee having to use multiple pitchers, and you're like, oh my goodness, can we know who's winning this baseball game? Can we move forward? But what we did see was Tennessee bats were dominant in this game. Like I said, AJ Russell was awesome, Marcus Phillips was good, but what we haven't done an immediate takeaway pod here on this very program, Ryan Sylvia. What was your takeaway from Tennessee advancing to play Texas tomorrow?
I think we saw maybe a flash of what Tennessee baseball ceiling is. Like this is what on paper, when you look at all the talent that they have on that roster, like it's filled with MLB guys. Like there's multiple players on this roster that are going to have really good MLB careers. Like that's the talent that's there. And it just hasn't clicked this year. This is, I think, what it starts to look like when it clicks is you get 20 hits and 15 runs. And it doesn't have to be that every game. Like even if you get half of that, like literally half of it, and you score 7 to 8 runs and you get 10 hits, like that's going to win you a lot of baseball games. And that's a good formula for when you do get to this next step in the NCAA tournament. So I think that's kind of what my takeaway is, okay, when things are clicking, this is what it can start to look like. And with the pitching side of it as well, like Marcus Phillips pitched well. I mean, the first time through the order, he didn't allow a runner. It was fantastic. And he gets into a little bit of trouble and an error by Dean Curley kind of raises some issues there in terms of what the score looks like until the bats pick back up. But you talked to AJ Russell. He was fantastic. And I think they just tried to maybe milk him out for one more inning to see if they could save some of the bullpen. It didn't work out. But the 3.2 that he threw heading into the ninth, he was lights out. And so when you kind of mix those good pitching from guys that are going to be high draft picks, and you twist that in with some of the hitting that started to kind of heat up. I think you saw a little bit of what the ceiling is, and what if you can capture some of what could make Tennessee baseball go far in the NCAA tournament.
I mean, now, don't look now, but 5 of the top 6 hitters are over 300 for Tennessee. Reese Chapman is getting his confidence back at a great time. He had 4 RBIs. He had a no-doubter home run. He had a great walk in this game that's going to be kind of forgotten, but he had a great at-bat there where he was able to register a walk. So great game all around from Reese. You look up and down the lineup. I mean, Gavin Keelan breaking out of his funk with 3 RBIs. Andrew Fisher just doing what he does all the time, which is get on base, continuing that streak. What is it, 57 games now for Andrew Fisher, getting on every single game this year. Even Manny Marin got on the action. Like, he had a good rope down the left field side that I thought was foul in the first look, but it was like somehow that snuck in there, and it was a 2 RBIer for Marin. So getting to see him do that. Cannon Peebles. Like, you just look up and down the lineup right now, and it's to what you're saying, where it's like there's still, it was something that I was thinking about the last couple weeks here when people are like, okay, what do you think Tennessee can get figured out in time for postseason play? And I'm like, I think the rotation is what it is, but I think it's still pretty good. Like, and I think AJ Russell was turning the corner, and I think you're getting more and more out of him. And I think that combo of Phillips to AJ is going to be really good behind Liam Doyle. I think that was a rare outing from Liam Doyle last week. I don't think you're going to see that again tomorrow against Texas. He's going to be fired up for that game. And then Tegan Coons, I think, was actually kind of rolling before the horrible ball call last week. And I think he's pitched pretty well. And I think he's getting more and more comfortable. So I think the rotation is actually pretty okay right now. And I think the lineup has the talent to get hot like this. Like, the lineup has some juice if they can put it all together. It's just the bullpen. The bullpen's the one where I'm like, that's not getting fixed. I don't think that's getting fixed here on May 21st. So if people ask me, they're like, oh, I'm like, it's the bullpen. And you saw that a little bit yesterday or today. Like, the bullpen gives up 4 runs in the top of the night. Like, no lead is safe. I think with Tennessee baseball is the main thing, but it's not as demoralizing going down 4 runs as a Tennessee fan right now, because hey, 4 runs with this offense, they can make that up in a hurry, because I think this is the best this lineup has been hitting and has looked at the plate collectively in a long time. And I think that's what makes you most excited right now if you're a Tennessee baseball fan, is that this lineup, a lot of guys seem a lot more confident and comfortable at the right time.
No, I completely agree. The bullpen is the holdup. I think, yeah. I agree. I mean, Liam Doyle, you literally cannot ask for a better starting pitcher than Liam Doyle right now. Marcus Phillips maybe starting to find his groove after those last 2 starts. And then between Tegan and AJ, you at least have one of the 2 guys that you feel like you can rely on to go a good distance, and both have been pitching well. The bullpen's sketchy, though. Like, Dylan Loy, he hasn't been great down the stretch, but he's proven he can be a reliable lefty arm. Outside of that, I mean, it gets tough a little bit to find a guy that I think you love out of the bullpen. Besides, obviously, I guess AJ would be the one if you want to consider him. But, like, I mean, you go down the roster. Breedlove has been good at times, but he's been hit around. Banky's kind of, after being a College World Series appearance guy last year, like, he's just kind of fallen off the face of the earth. Arvidsson had a good game today and is one back. Like, he's kind of that situational lefty, I guess, where you just need that 1 or 2 outs in the order. And he came in and did his job. But, like, Ryan Combs hasn't pitched much in SEC play. Krenzel today didn't look as sharp. He's looked good throughout the season, but didn't look as sharp today. I mean, even a guy like Nate Snead's been hit around at times. A guy like Tanner Franklin's been hit around at times. Those are supposed to be 2 of your better bullpen arms. That is where it gets a little sketchy. But as you said as well, if you're getting even half the production at the plate that you got today, I think for the most part you're going to be fine. At least that should get you a fighting chance in a regional or maybe a super regional. And that's, I mean, I guess all you can ask for at this point with Tennessee baseball is just put yourself in a position and roll the dice and see what happens. And if the lineup's sitting like this, you got to feel at least somewhat decent about that spot.
I mean, that's the best spot to be in. I mean, Major League Baseball is like the Nationals won a World Series with the terrible bullpen in 2019, and it can happen. And it's also like one of those where it's just, I'm not going to lie, it's just the most fun in your offense. Like Tennessee, if they lose because the bullpen blows some stuff, like they blow 2 games in the Supers or in Omaha, it's like, hey, you repeat it, whatever. But if the offense is still raking, You're like, hey, we went down doing what we love. Like, that's the thing, is I want Tennessee to go down doing what I appreciate them doing most, which is just knocking the cover off the ball. And like, I would much rather lose 10-9 in an important playoff game than like 10-2, and like it just being like it, and it also being like 3-2 going into the 8th or 9th, and then you're just like, oh, there's no chance, because the combination of where the lineup was at and the bullpen is just, it is what it is. But I don't know. Tennessee is starting to play. It's one game. We'll see where they go from here. But I'm very curious to see how Tennessee plays Texas tomorrow with Doyle on the and this lineup hitting the way they are right now.
Yeah, I mean,
switching gears here. The big story this week, Ryan, Sylvia, I guess we'll find out in terms of what's going to happen with Zakai Zeigler and potentially Jordan Gainey, because this would obviously include him too. But Zakai suing for a 5th season of college basketball. My first thought to this, though, and when you're looking at just the roster going from 13 to 15, it still can work by bringing on, I mean, it's getting tight in terms of minutes and just a lot of bodies, but the portal's over. So I don't know what all that means. If it's going to be you can't really go anywhere if you're Jacoby Gillespie and Amari Abram and company. But man, when you think about this is probably an overthink from my vantage point. But I mean, would the Vols Hoops roster be too bloated if Zakai were to win this lawsuit and we get both Zakai Zeigler and Jordan Gainey back next year with this roster?
I mean, I guess that's a word you could use for it, bloated. I think it's a good issue to have. Like, I don't think that you're going to, as Tennessee and as the coaching staff, I don't think you're going to shy away from bringing back Zakai Zeigler, who would be maybe the front runner to win SEC Player of the Year if he came back, and a guy like Jordan Gainey, where, I mean, maybe he would start, or even if he came off the bench, that's probably the front runner for 6 Man of the Year next season. Like, those are two elite players. One of them, Jordan Gainey, especially fits a need that you desperately need. And then, Zakai Zeigler, one of the greatest players in Tennessee basketball history. So sure, does it make the depth chart a little bit hairy? Does it probably make Amari Abram second guess joining Tennessee if those two guys are back? Sure. Is it a negative? I don't think so. I don't think it's something to read into in a negative way. I think having those options is good. I think Jacoby Gillespie is probably content still. Maybe it's not the role he would have imagined, but he's still going to be on a really competitive Tennessee team back in his home state and in a position to go far in the tournament. And then theoretically, of course, all of this very theoretical. I still kind of a believe it when you see it type of situation. I'm not too bought in expecting those guys to be on the roster just yet. But if that was approved, you would think it would probably mean that they're just changing all the eligibility to look something like you have 5 years to play 5, no red shirts left. Well, then that means you get Jacoby for next year after this. You get Felix Okpara for next year after this. So beyond just the maybe bloatedness of this exact season, like that also kind of sets you up for the future a little bit as well. So really the only people that I think would look at this and, maybe selfishly be a little bit upset, but understandably, are guys like Amari Abram or Bishop Boswell, guys that were expected to step up and play big minutes at guard that probably would see those minutes diminish with those guys coming back.
Yeah, I guess my big thing too is, so one of the things that's so interesting, because Bart Torvik right now has Tennessee as a number 2 team with their roster right now in his 2025-2026 projections. I guess number 2 now, because Boogie Flan just ended up at Florida. So they moved Florida into the 10 spot. So Tennessee's at 12, Florida's at 10, Arkansas is at 9. The difference with those 3 teams atop the SEC is Arkansas 13th and 10th projections offensively and defense respectively. Florida 16th and 7th. Tennessee, you're not going to believe this, 36th in offense, 2nd in defense projected for next year. It's one of those things where I understand the Rick Barnes experience, and it's always going to be top 3, top 5 defense before a top 5 offense. But there is a reason that the closest this team has gotten to a national title was because the offense exploded around a great defense with Dalton Knecht 2 years ago. And I look at this and I'm like, this offense, I'm still kind of hesitant on like if Tennessee's done what they're going to do with that final roster spot, even if Zakai and Jordan Gainey don't get this approved, and or specifically Zakai, if he doesn't get this approved and the 5th-year stuff doesn't come, doesn't get passed in time, or does not get passed at all. That's still there's just so much up for like still up in the air right now. All that being said, I mean, this offense, the 2-guard spot is not good enough right now. And I mean, you missed on my whole offseason. It's crazy. An offseason that you landed a 5-star superstar potentially in Nate Ament. You bring home a hometown guy who was really productive on a really good team last year in Maryland, and Jacoby Gillespie. You get Jalen Carey from Vanderbilt. Like, it's a stacked team in a lot of ways. But you're so close that it actually irritates me more, Ryan Sylvia, because I'm like, you have a hole there at the 2-guard spot. Like that, there's just no way around it. Like you did not close well at the 2. And I think that's fair right now. Is right now you have a lot of talent on this roster. You're starting 4. Like that 4-man unit is going to be really good. But if Zakai and Gainey get in there, like I don't even like, because part of me is I worry about the 6 feet stuff, and then the 5'9", 5'10" Zakai part of it. Like I don't know how Gillespie and Zakai work as a defensive backcourt for Rick Barnes and company, especially depending on what kind of competition they're up against, and it might be matchup based. But I also don't want to overthink it. Where man, I think they figure it out. I think Zakai. I would be more okay with Zakai, Gainey, Boswell, and because Troy Henderson doesn't have to play yet, so you don't have to worry about like finding minutes for him. And then Clarence Masamba, huge wild card. We have no idea what he's going to be out of the gate. He might be able to help you right now. He might not be able to help you for a year or two. Like we have no idea. But if you just have a sure thing of a 3-man rotation of Gillespie, Zakai, and Gainey, and you're able to stagger Zakai and Gillespie, which is something that I think a lot of people should consider, is that Barnes has that opportunity. If they're both in the boat, you're like, hey, we can stagger these guys. I mean, he will have to play Zakai less than he ever has, I think, with this roster if Zakai were to come back. Like, I think there's no way of keeping everybody happy if Zakai's playing 38, 37 minutes and Gillespie's playing 30. Like, you just can't. Like, this roster's too big now. And also, it's not good. Like, be able to save that. It's a benefit now that Zakai should not have to play as much as you've had to play in the last couple of years. So, I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but I mean, it is so interesting in terms of roster building and roster construction right now, because we don't know what's going to happen with Zakai in this ruling, but I do think there are some defensive questions, but I do also think that Tennessee doesn't really have a lot of great options to fix where they came up short this offseason at the 2, outside of Zakai and Jordan Gainey finding a way to get back on this roster. And I don't know. I'm very split on it right now, Ryan Sylvia.
Well, you would have to figure out a way to get Jacoby and Zakai on the floor at the same time. And yeah, you would be giving up some height. I think that, Zakai's already proven that he can play above his height and make things work despite giving up some inches. But would you stagger them in a sense that one of the 2 will be on the floor 100% of the time? Yes. But it's not like you're going to play Jacoby 15 minutes and Zakai 25. Like, I don't see that being the case. Zakai is still going to play 30 plus minutes. And will he play less than last year or the year before? Probably in this situation. Just because, like you said, there's the luxury of it, and you can maybe try to keep him fresher for later in the year. So yeah, I don't think he would have to play 38 minutes a game, but he's still going to play 30 plus, and you're still going to have to find a way to get Jacoby his 20 plus. So to me, if it does happen, once again, still just such a big if to me. Like, it's just not something that it's fun to talk about, but for me, it's still not something that I'm expecting to pass and to be a reality. But you would have to figure out a way for both of them to be on the floor at the same time. Like, that just would have to be the scenario, is that you're going to have a smaller backcourt and you're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah. But it'd be fun, man. I think the one part of like people really overthinking part of it, it's like, I think Tennessee's out of better options at the 2. So I would just rather, if that wins, I'm rolling with it. Like, don't overthink that part of it, because I think Tennessee would be kind of, I don't want to say screwed. I think they would have problems at the 2. I think this is that it would be an incomplete, where like this could have been an A+ offseason, and I think you're at a B+ if where you're at right now. Like, I think, in the frustrating part, and I understand it's hard and money is not unlimited, but I just think you should have overpaid for Rodney Rice. Like, I just can't shake that feeling. I think you had to go in this offseason like, we got Ament, we got Gillespie, we're loaded in the front court. Ament's gone after this year anyway. Gillespie's probably gone after this year anyway. Like, I have a real shot here. We could actually win a title with this group here. Like, let's just overpay for 1 year. Like, I understand, but that's free agency. And I think that's one of the things that colleges are learning now a little bit. Like, you and I were NFL guys where, like, the Falcons have had to overpay for guys before, but that doesn't mean those guys don't turn out to be productive players. Like, sometimes you have to overpay because guys don't necessarily want to go there. It's a bad situation, but you have a need there and you're like, well, what are we going to do? You sometimes have to overpay for guys who will then be productive, maybe not as productive as the price tag, the contract they sign, but that doesn't mean they're not helpful. So I look at that one where I'm like, man, I don't know how that could have gone and if Tennessee really could have done it, but that's the one where I'm like, I would have just pushed to be like, I understand this number does not match the kind of player that you're potentially getting here. But like, that puts us in that position where I don't know many other teams in college basketball would have a better starting five than Tennessee next year.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel a bit like a Rodney Rice sized hole
Yes.
on the roster. And Amari Abram could prove to be a solid 2 guard. Like, he's going to have to start for Tennessee with what the current roster looks like. That's the expectation. But it does feel a little bit like a Rodney Rice sized hole. And it is interesting thinking about kind of overpaying and underpaying and all those different types of things in the current college sports format with NIL. Is like, you've seen teams kind of push all the chips in for a year and then, maybe look at your roster and you go, yeah, I don't really know if this is the year. So let's maybe take a step back and try to save up some money for next year or the year after. It's just been interesting to see how coaches and programs have, managed money, where some years that budget gets a lot higher and then other years maybe they take a step back to try to get it higher for the next season. That has been an interesting thing. And it felt like maybe this was the year for Tennessee to say, all right, let's go all in. Let's try to capitalize off of what happened last year and the year before with back-to-back Elite Eight runs. You got the Nate Ament, which is part that, and getting Nate Ament is partially going all in and pushing the NIL there. So that is part of it. Like, it's not like they sat on their hands and didn't pay anyone and didn't make any big moves. Like, they did make the big moves. They landed Jacoby. They landed Nate Ament. But it does feel like maybe that one piece is missing to really take it over the hump from, hey, this is a really good team, to like, okay, this is a national title contender. And right now it feels like it's maybe that half step behind national title contender, and like maybe could get hot in March and make a deep run type of team feels like what it's kind of at right now.
That's fair. And I'm glad we're on the same page here because it actually annoys me. Like, it really does. Because I'm like, Tennessee's so close and this roster is so close. But if you get Gainey back and Zakai back, like, yeah, I think that can win a title. Like, that group with that can win a title. But like you said, I don't know. I would say it's what would you put the percentage on right now of Zakai winning this?
It does not feel like I said,
it's not a great case.
I'm fully not expecting it to go through. I don't know if I have a percentage, but like, it's just like, when I'm thinking about 25 to 26 Tennessee men's basketball, Zakai Zeigler and Jordan Gainey are not on the roster in my head. Like, it's just fully the guy signed right now is what I'm thinking. I have to see it to believe it. I'm not saying there's a 0% chance, but I just totally have to see it to believe it until like I'll actually accept that those guys are coming back.
You know what we need to do? Drop what you're doing, Ryan Sylvia. Make this your number one priority. We need to do an Always Sunny in Philadelphia type deal where the gang has USC Upstate lose their accreditation.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, we have to figure out a way to just lose their accreditation so that those years don't count against Jordan Gainey. Find a way to get to mess up the records there, to just be like, that's what we need to do. Put our heads together to figure out a way to make USC Upstate a JUCO and not count for Jordan Gainey.
I mean, it was I think you could fudge some numbers, try to pretend about, like, maybe you slip it through the cracks and someone,
or we ask them, can y'all just go down for a year? Like, come back up, just go JUCO this summer. I don't know if that even applies. Like, this is all very silly, but that's the whole thing. I'm like, Gainey's the one I want back. Like, I love Zakai. I love his 4 years, but with Jacoby Gillespie in the boat, the hole is at the 2, and Jordan Gainey just solves that final piece for Tennessee. That, man, I really like. I don't think he's even as good as Rodney Rice, but I'd feel a whole lot more comfortable if they're doing 20 minutes of Jordan Gainey and 20 minutes of Amari Abram, and then potentially whatever you get from Clarence Masamba. That you feel a whole lot better than like we might need 35 minutes of Amari Abram, and I don't know, man.
It is the question of fit versus best available, like
Yeah.
the old draft question of who do you draft, the best guy on the board or the guy you think's going to fit the best. And it's bit teams both ways before. Like I always think to the Warriors when they got James Wiseman, because on paper they had all the guards they could ever want with the Splash Brothers and stuff.
Well, hold on. I was all LaMelo in that. I thought they overthought it. I was all LaMelo for the.
Because I have a soft spot for the Warriors. I've always been like, that's always been my number 2 team. I remember watching the draft and I was like, LaMelo.
Yes.
Oh my God, they drafted for fit. And so that's why I'm always a little cautious. Like, does Jordan Gainey fit the roster, the depth chart better right now? Sure. Is Zakai Zeigler the better player? Yeah. So like if you had to pick one, I would still go Zakai, even though the fit doesn't make as much sense. Like for me, I'm almost always like, just get the best guy available. And the best guy available in that situation would be Zakai Zeigler.
I think that's fair. I like that. Positive Sylvia. We did negative Sylvia last week. Just you were really harsh last week, Ryan Sylvia. You're really, really harsh. Flipping the script here. Positive Sylvia. Lady Vol that's returning that you're most excited about and why?
I mean, the easy answer is obviously Talaysia Cooper. Like she could be the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. She could be an all SEC player and get on WNBA draft boards before her eligibility runs out. Like she has everything that you could ask for inside of Kim Caldwell's system in terms of the defense and the offense and the length and the athletic. Like it's the total package of a basketball player. So that's really exciting to see what steps she can take now that she's, she played the freshman year at South Carolina, had to sit out a year. Now she's able to stack 2 college years together and take a step in her, really, I guess, her 3rd year with the Lady Vols and 2nd under Kim Caldwell. So that's exciting. The one to me, though, that's not the easy answer of Talaysia Cooper is Z Spearman. Like, I think she could step up in a really big way for the Lady Vols next season. And that's not only just like as an offensive player, but like just kind of the all-around game. Like she would presumably be more comfortable as, maybe in that 5 role. Like she's kind of more naturally a 4 with how athletic and fluid she is, but she's got the height to play the 5. She's going to have to play the 5 every time she's on the floor next year and guard some of the best centers in women's college basketball that are almost all in the SEC, it feels like. So she has a lot on her play on the defensive end. I thought she did a fine job. I expect her to take a step there, take a step in just the understanding and the comfortability of playing in a unique system like Kim's is. But like that offense could take a significant step. Like she could be maybe your 2nd leading scorer on the team next year behind Talaysia Cooper. So she's someone that I'm excited to see what type of step she takes from year 1 with Kim Caldwell to year 2 as she goes into her senior year.
Yeah, I think Ruby Whitehorn will continue to be like, I just feel like she's so long and just such a good fit. Or I think Cooper, I still am kind of wondering what her offensive role is going to be next year in particular. I'm curious, like the defense is obviously there, but I wonder if there's another level for Ruby to be like more of a 3-and-D and like to be more settled in. I just feel like she has so much switchability and is more locked in as a role player. Like I feel like Ruby Whitehorn knows what her role is on Kim Caldwell's team and what she can be. And like, I think everyone's going to look at Cooper to be that, but I think there's a universe where Ruby Whitehorn's your best defender next year. I think she's right there, man. And part of it is that I think Cooper might have more offensive responsibility, like as NBA comparisons, like the James Harden part of it is like, I think everyone gets onto these offensive high usage guys of like, oh, they don't play defense. I'm like, do you know how hard it is to have like a 36% usage rate and then also be a 2nd team all NBA defender? Like you can't really have it both ways. Most guys are not Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Like that's just not sustainable for 99% of basketball players. And I just kind of wonder, we're like, Ruby Whitehorn's never going to have a high usage rate here. And what if she has the length and athleticism to be a lockdown perimeter defender and just a really good player for Kim? And I just feel like a really seamless fit. Like, I wonder if Cooper is just going to have more on her. Like, I think it's more important for Cooper to develop offensively than defensively because we know that you have there. I think it's just more of like unlocking that final gear for her offensively, maybe taking stuff off her plate defensively a little bit.
Yes, but for me with Talaysia, it's like she likes playing defense. It's not like, hey, you've got the build to be a great wing defender and to be great in the press. We want you to do this. We want you to do that. It's she wants to do it herself too. So will she have probably a bigger offensive role this year than last year? Sure, but I don't think that takes too much away from her defense, especially too because uh, with the press, a lot of the way you get your points is playing defense and jumping in the passing lanes and picking pockets of point guards swinging the ball off the floor. So what Talaysia does so well that Kim likes so well is when she's in the press and she's able to get a pickpocket or something like that. It's a free 2 points on the other end because she's able to scoop it up and go and score quickly. So for me, it's tough to see them take much defensive emphasis off of her plate because she's so good and it does spark her offense. But also, not that Ruby's a bad defender. For me, though, if your best defender next year isn't Talaysia Cooper, it's going to be Kanaya Boyd because she's similar build to Talaysia Cooper, similar skill sets where she's long, she's quick, she can kind of jump in the passing lanes or be an on-ball defender. Like she's got that total package too, and the mental want to be a good defender. So those are the two to me that are pretty similar players, but will be Tennessee's best 2 defenders next year.
Without looking, what would you guess Rio Einhorn shot from 3 in the tournament this year?
In the tournament specifically, that's interesting because on the year it wasn't great.
Yeah, it was 30% on the year.
Man, it's tough for me to remember if she was knocking them down or not. I feel like she was not.
She was 50% on 7 threes. And she also was 7 for 13 from the field against Texas, 6 of 10 from the field against Ohio State, 3 of 7 against USF. But I mean, she had 6 steals in 3 games in the tournament. Like, I don't know. It just, you look at the end of her stats, like she shot the ball really poorly to start out the year, but I think some stuff was clicking down the stretch for her. And she'll have those games where it's like, you'll look in the box score, 3 steals, 2 boards, 2 blocks. Like she gobbles up. I don't know. I like role players who know exactly what they're good at, what they can do, what they need to get better at. And if she can improve her 3-point percentage and still be a disruptor on the perimeter and have several of those 2 to 3 steal type games, block a shot, keep the ball moving, take some of the pressure off Talaysia. But I just feel like Talaysia's got to be your best player. And I just always wonder about workload. Because I mean, you see that with Zakai and you see that with all kinds of people where I kind of worry about you putting so much on the defensive end and being this lockdown. I understand you love it and you're a great defender, but you still have to have, you don't want to have tired legs come tournament time and crunch time, because people are going to look to you. Like people are going to look to you like they did against Iowa when Talaysia Cooper closed really strong early in the year in Brooklyn. Like you need to conserve Talaysia offensively. And I think that's my biggest thing. Is like, I kind of would be worried if Talasia's like just all defense all the time. And I'm like, I kind of need you to be like defense like 90% of the time, but then also like keep some for the fourth quarter so that you're able to close for Tennessee. Because I think that's still who you're going to look at to be a closer for you offensively in the half court.
And I think with Ruby, it's a bit of an overused term at times, but I think she's almost the X factor in a way for Tennessee, in that like when she's on and she's scoring at will, which she's proven that she can do, like that does take Tennessee to almost a new level. And that's when I guess, you do think back to that NCAA tournament run where they did play really well. They kind of turned the page after a shaky end of the season. It makes sense that she was playing well and shooting the ball well because they were winning games, or I guess, flip that the other way. Because when she is on and she is pacing the offense, because she's usually staggered with Talaysia Cooper, as we talked about Jacoby and Zakai in that situation. That is kind of what Tennessee does with the rotations. Is it's either Talaysia or Ruby on the floor until kind of crunch time, or when you really need a bucket, and maybe you play both of them at once. But for the most part, it's one or the other, and you kind of look to Ruby to be that leading scorer when she is in that rotation. It is her group on the floor. So if she could take a step into being a little bit more consistent, I think would be the word for her. Like that would kind of raise Tennessee's ceiling next year. I think that would be a big deal.
I love it. Jermod McCoy, was he snubbed by ESPN in their top 25 playmakers list? You read about this over there on Tennessee Rivals this week, Ryan Sylvia. What do you think with Adam Rittenberg leaving off Jermod McCoy, who has been mocked here to go in the top 20 in the 2026 NFL draft year?
I would say it's a snub. It's obviously not the biggest deal in the world. That one article, leaves you off, but I would classify that as a snub, because to me, he's taking quarterbacks out of the equation, so it's the top 25 non-quarterbacks. Like, Jermod McCoy is a top 25 non-quarterback. And you look at the mock drafts and they all agree. And you look at a lot of the preseason All-American lists that come out and they all agree with that. So it was a little bit surprising to me. And I think too, you always kind of have to look at with those, like you can be as mad as you want about someone being on the list that isn't, you can be as mad as you want about someone not being on the list, but who are you going to take off of it? Well, you look at the defensive backs. Caleb Downs of Ohio State, sure, that makes a lot of sense that he'd be on it. The other defensive back, Chandler Rivers of Duke, not that he's a bad player, but like, I'll take Jermod McCoy.
That was the one to me where I'm like, all right, come on now.
That's where it felt like a snub to me. Like,
yes,
you have 2 defensive backs on the list. To me, Jermod McCoy is the better one over him. Caleb Downs, sure, you can take Caleb Downs. Jermod McCoy should have been on the list, and it should have been in that spot right there.
I think it's one of those where Jermod was like one of those you had to kind of watch. Like Jermod, it was still kind of stunning how impactful he was just right out of the gate. Like he played a significant amount for Oregon State his freshman year, but I mean, he just locked in as CB1 and was just great. I mean, he obviously had the great pick in the end zone against Bama. He was just a ball hawk. Like that was the other part of it. I mean, I think he had a pick against Oklahoma. He was just someone who teams just didn't go at. It was like they were going at Ricky Gibson. Like they were not looking Jermod McCoy's way. He became a lockdown corner and the best corner in the Heupel era thus far. And Kamal Hadden was really good 2 years ago. Like Kamal Hadden really settled in, but Jermod is different, man. Jermod is, and Tennessee really needs him to come back healthy from this torn ACL. And it looks like it seems like here in late May, all things looking good there. But I mean, Jermod is on the list. Like Jermod is, and Tennessee could theoretically, I think, not even theoretically, they should have back-to-back guys on a top 25 non-quarterback playmaker list next year too. Boo Carter should be on that list next year. If he has the kind of year I think we're both expecting, Boo Carter is going to be a household name nationally sooner rather than later. And I think part of it's because he's going to return punts. Like that was the other thing about Jermod is like he was fair catching, and that's just not, he's not a twitchy guy. He's not going to make the first, that's not his deal. Boo is going to, I mean, he should have broken that one against Georgia, where the Georgia punter, if you go back and watch that play, Ryan, if Jalen McMurray, and you can see Jalen like getting all mad. I don't know. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Like Jalen is mad. He goes off to the field because he knows he didn't take that block seriously with Thorson. And if he had just I don't think he knew where Boo was and how close it, like that the punter was the difference between a touchdown there.
You don't want to lay out the punter and then ruin the return if you don't think he's
correct.
Actually
it's a tough split-second decision, but I think he like in that moment he realized, man, if I just pushed him a little bit harder, if I just done something a little bit more, that springs Boo, and we have 6 there. But I encourage people to go back and watch it. It's one of those where you go back and watch that game as many times as I do it, like just watch different plays. You're like, Jalen McMurray like lost it. Like he knew immediately that he should have made that block against the punter because Boo is gone. But Boo is different, and Boo is going to return. I'm comfortable saying Boo has 2 punt return touchdowns this year. I'll say it's 2.
I like that. It feels weird that he didn't have one last year because you could see immediately how good of a returner he was. And it felt like every time you came to the stadium, it was like, all right, surely today's the day that Boo Carter breaks one, especially when they were playing some of the worst competition. It was like, all right, they're going to send one to Boo at the 50 after they get pinned, and he's just going to house one. And it feels bizarre to say that he doesn't have one under his belt already. So I like make up for last year. You didn't get one. You only returned punts for like half the year, and then also get yours. I like that. I'll stick with you on that one too. I like that take. Two punt return touchdowns for Boo.
We got to find like the positives because people are all doom and gloom and pie in the sky. I'm like, you know who's going to be awesome? Boo Carter's going to be awesome this year. He's on my football team that I am going to really enjoy watching because I think Boo Carter's their best player. And it's just, Boo is going to be great off the edge. I think he's going to have a forced fumble off the edge, just blindsiding the quarterback. I think Boo's just going to be big fan, big Boo guy over here, Ryan Sylvia. Chris Lowe of ESPN calls his shot on 104.5 in Nashville that I thought was interesting. Quote, here's my prediction. Tennessee plays 2 quarterbacks this year in some way, shape, or form. I've been on this like all spring. Everyone's just penciling in Joey football and like the whole Nico flip, and he's a senior and this. And I'm like, the timeline doesn't work. And I think regardless of how optimistic you are about him being able to get the playbook and be comfortable with people from June on, because everyone's gone. Like no one's back yet for Joey Aguilar. Like no one, like he's maybe here and learning plays and meeting with coaches. But what Joey Aguilar is not doing is, I mean, throwing with everybody. He's not practicing with the team because it's just we're right now, like summer ball is not here. So they're home. Like they'll be back next month. But right now, I mean, it's just really learning the playbook and getting comfortable and familiar with the coaches. I have said where I'm like, I just don't see this being like a clean Aguilar gets 12 starts plus a bowl game type year. Like, I just think if it was December, you could probably sell me on whoever the transfer quarterback was. If the Nico stuff happened then, I'd probably lean that way. I would say I'd be surprised if it's not a transfer the full year. Man, it's 2 months. Like, it's 2 months. And Jake's been in the system for 2 years. He obviously has a lot of pull in the locker room in terms of like relationships and stuff like that. There's a rallying cry there. Those guys, a lot of talented blue chip players were in his recruiting class with him. And he's just an easy guy to root for. Fans obviously were big fans with him coming out on the orange and white game and all that and how he's handled that. Like, high upside 4-star still, top 15 quarterback in his class. George is still looming as a true freshman. You never know there. I have said I think all three play this year. I would be surprised if Tennessee does not get all three action, but I do think Chris Lowe is right in that we're going to see multiple guys. But I do wonder if Chris is saying, or he's thinking that we're going to see some altering like early on, where it's like, here's a first possession, like even against Syracuse, where they let Aguilar have the first series and then they go to Jake or something. Now that would be fascinating if that's something that Heupel did, because I don't know. What is your read on all that?
I hate the multi-quarterback systems like that Florida tried last year with Graham Mertz and DJ Lagway. And the whole time you're watching the games, you're like, not that Graham Mertz is playing horrible football, but very clearly DJ Lagway is a better quarterback already. So just let him be the quarterback. And then Graham Mertz gets hurt in Knoxville and DJ Lagway takes off the rest of the season. It was like, yeah, everyone could see this coming from a mile away, it felt like.
To be fair, Tennessee probably loses to Florida in that game if Graham Mertz doesn't get hurt.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Mertz was cooking, man. Mertz was cooking.
Yes, but also if you go into that game with DJ Lagway with maybe a start or two of full football under his belt, does Tennessee win that game, or do they lose by multiple scores with the way DJ Lagway was cooking by the end? Like, DJ Lagway is a good quarterback. I don't know.
Well, Tennessee, for whatever reason, those kind of quarterbacks like the Taylon Greens, the Matt Corrals, the Graham Mertz, I'm trying to think who are some other good ones during this era where they just are comfortable just 6 yards, and Emory Jones from Florida 4 years ago. It's never like the star. It's just the ones who can nickel and dime you to death, where it's just, we'll take 6 yards over and over and we'll be on 3rd and 4 and you're not getting off the field. Like, we're just going to continue to convert and we're going to complete 70% of our passes. We're not going to throw picks. Like, that's why, I mean, Taylon Green just did not make any mistakes. And I think he completed like 70% of his passes against Tennessee in that Arkansas game. Like, those are the kind of quarterbacks that for whatever reason are just a thorn in Tennessee's side in this, with this era under Heupel.
That's fair. Yeah, for the most part, it does. You definitely know that feeling of like, this is the third down Tennessee's had this drive.
Yes.
It's 3rd and 6, and we all know Tennessee's not getting off the field here because they haven't all game long. I do understand that feeling. I hate the double quarterback system. I don't know if that's what Chris Lowe was inferring. I would think that's not what he was going at. Yeah. I would hate to see that week 1 or any time of the year. I think you got to pick a guy. You got to stick with a guy. I think it'll be Joey Aguilar to start the year. Like, I think he will be QB1. I think he'll be named QB1 going to the Syracuse game. I don't know if he starts every game, though. Or if he does start every game, I don't know if he finishes every game because of the turnover issues. That's where I get so hung up on Joey Aguilar. When you watch him play at App State, when he's on, like, he's awesome. He's fantastic to watch. He's throwing the ball everywhere. It's great offense. There's just a few games in both of the seasons at App State where he was just a turnover machine. It was bad reads. It was bad decisions. It was putting the ball in harm's way. It was pick sixes. It was not good football. And there's not a lot of room for that in the SEC. You turn the ball over 1 or 2 times, and that can be the complete difference in a football game. So if that does happen when he's at Tennessee, how long is the leash? How quickly do you say, all right, we're a quarter and a half into this game and you've thrown 2 interceptions. we got to ride with Jake Merklinger the rest of the way here. That's where I'm curious. I feel like there will be some Jake Merklinger QB1 reps, whether that's at the end of the game, whether he does get the starting nod at some point. We'll see about George McIntyre. I'm sure he'll get, some reps here and there in some of those games. But for me, it feels like the Jake Merklinger versus Joey Aguilar kind of quarterback battle. I think Joey gets the advantage going into the year. I'm curious where it stands at the end of the year, though.
I think that's fair. The full quote here, from 104.5 The Zone's 3HL, where Chris Lowe was on. This is a very short window for a guy like Aguilar or anybody to come in and win a job. So he essentially just got on campus. A lot of guys on the team aren't on campus yet. So he's going to have June and July to get to know those guys, throw with them, and then preseason camp starts in August. Here's my prediction. Tennessee plays 2 quarterbacks this year in some way, shape, or form. And then he also added, I don't think they want to do that. I just think it will play out that way, that they will play 2 different guys at quarterback. But here's the other part of it is like, Faison is sitting there next year. Like all of this has a Faison part of it. And you're in a year-to-year sport now where you can't wait and just pencil in Faison. Like everything that happened with Nico, you can't do that. Even though I think Faison's actually a better fit and a better prospect than Nico was, it's just a tougher sell to this fan base to be like, hold on, Faison's coming. And then you're going to be like a true freshman coming in who you're going to be like, hey, we need you to come in and be a really good quarterback right away for us. That being said, you do have to keep that in the back of your mind. You're like, we do have this potentially generational quarterback coming in here, the number 1 overall player in some sites on our roster next year. Like that's someone who's coming in that we expected with Nico leaving after this year, no matter what, most likely, that you were going to have a true, hey, George, Jake, Faison, best man win, and that's what we're going to do. And we understand we're probably going to lose one, depending on how that goes, right? Now, if you play Jake and George this year and Joey, like what you laid out here, and is kind of like his App State Joey, where he is reckless with the football and he is throwing picks, and Heupel is like, because Heupel's not going to do it. Like, I'm just going to go tell you, Heupel is not going to let Joey Aguilar throw 10 picks for Tennessee this year. That's not his offense. It's not his style. That is just a pet peeve. He's not doing it. Like the gunslinger stuff is not happening. Joe Milton did not throw double-digit picks at Tennessee. Like that was like, he would have if Heupel was like, yeah, just keep running Hendon stuff. Like it's fine. Like it just, well, whatever happens, happens. No, he's not going to do that. So they're going to go 12 personnel. They'll run the ball. And if Jake is the guy that he trusts to keep the ball in Tennessee's hands and to do the little bit that he needs him to do and win games, he'll go to Jake. Like I do genuinely believe that we're going to see multiple quarterbacks. But yeah, I don't know. I think the people are penciling in. I bet you Tennessee wants Aguilar to win this job and just to be able to handle it for a year and get them to 8-4, 9-3 something and just get to the offseason. But I just don't think it's going to be that clean. I think the timeline is terrible. And I still think there's some stuff there on tape that I'm scared of how this fit works. I don't think he's even like one of the first 20 guys you target in the winter portal window if you're Tennessee. So I don't think he's a natural fit. I just think he's the best you could do at the time. But it's not like we're rooting against the guy. I have my doubts that it's going to be this clean fit and we're going to be fine.
I mean, it feels like there's going to be another quarterback controversy after this season. Whether like it's going to be an open competition, no matter what Joey Aguilar does. Obviously, this is his last year of eligibility, so he's not going to be in the equation for next year. But it is a feeling of preferably Joey Aguilar starts and he gets you at least 8 wins and he starts every game. And you just try to refresh after next season with the full off season to figure out who's playing quarterback and get a guy out of the transfer portal if you want and get Faison in and see what you have there and do all those things. I agree. It doesn't feel like it's going to be that simple this year. We'll see. I don't know. Jake Merklinger could help himself though. I will say like he's going to get some chances here and there and he could try to position himself maybe a little bit firmer in that quarterback race for next season too. Even if he doesn't become a true starter for Tennessee this season, like he's a guy that I think could help himself because it is rare that a true freshman comes in and can just take over an SEC program that has their sights set on going to the college football playoffs. So I'm interested to see how that all shakes out. Though it's a peculiar situation that doesn't feel like it's the best spot for Tennessee right now.
Ryan, Sylvia, what can the good folks check out from you and the team over at ballreport.com this week?
Yeah, well, baseball coverage. We'll have Tennessee softball in their super regional as they host Nebraska. We'll have coverage of that. Obviously, more football offseason, more basketball offseason, everything Tennessee athletics at ballreport.com.
I love it. Go subscribe today if you are not already. Ryan, Sylvia, keep up the great work, my friend, and I'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Chase.
All right, we're back here on the Chase Thomas podcast, where I'm now joined by a champion. Do we call him Champion Clay of Calhoun? We can have a lot of C alliteration here. It's Clay Stephenson, the head football coach of the Calhoun Yellow Jackets. Clay, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I've been called a lot of things, so champion's one on the top of the list for sure. So, and I appreciate you having me. It's always a good time. I love the stuff you do, that you cover. A wide variety of sports here in the Southeast. So we appreciate what you do for sure.
Tennessee Georgia line, man. I love it both. I grew up in as I tell folks behind me when we move, I'll have the Parkview Brookwood helmets behind me, and to add more clarity and to my background and the Battle of Five Forks and everything else, that where it got started for me. And Friday Night Lights always going to be an important special part to what I cover and what I do each and every day. But Calhoun, kind of it's not far. It's like a 2-hour drive here from Knoxville. It's not that bad. I need to get over there.
Yeah, it's not too bad at all. It's I used to go to the Georgia-Tennessee game every year, and it's just about as quick to get to Knoxville as it is to Athens from Calhoun. So not too bad at all. You need to get down and check out a game.
How long did you give yourself to enjoy winning a state title?
That's funny you asked that. So my wife, we played for a state championship. We got out for Christmas break the next day, and so we're on Christmas break, and it was just after Christmas, and I was downstairs doing some film work for a next year's opponent, and she came down and got mad at me, and she was like, "Can you not be content you just won a state championship?" So and we were, but it lasted a week or two, and at the end of the day, whether you win the last one or lose the last one, the next season's coming regardless. So it's been a huge deal for us here I think I've preached about it every time I've talked to coaches and the players, of not being complacent, trying to, because it takes the same amount of work regardless of what you did last year to get back there. So hopefully we're moving the right direction. But to answer your question, it was good for about a week or two, and then it was kind of moving on.
Well, one of the things I'm curious about is it's what is that disease of me or disease of more that Pat Riley talks about during his title years, and why it's just so hard to maintain a championship level program after you win one. And now you have you have kids coming back who just won a state title. Like some kids obviously graduating on, moving on, and that's how they ended things. But you have several kids who are going to be back, who are going to be playing important snaps for you, that already went through all of it. They won a state title, and you, I imagine, have to approach this offseason differently than you would have most years, because it's just that there's a natural oh man, we were close, or we lost in the semis, or we lost in the quarterfinals, or we got upset here, and let's go build off that. There's not really it's not building, it's maintaining, and that's a different type of deal for a bunch of high school kids to understand. It's look, it's not going to be that easy, and you're not just going to start winning state title after state title, and it's got to be something that you approach differently, right?
Yeah. So ironically, speaking of Pat Riley, because I'm trying to, obviously we've played for a lot of state championships. Blessed to be able to play for a lot. We've never been able to repeat. We've won from. We've only gone back to a state championship game after we've won once. So it's that's one of the things that kind of keeps me up at night. But mentioning Pat Riley, there was a guy here this week that we were talking about that same very topic, and he said that he read a book probably on the same thing that you were doing, and he's trying to find it for me. So there's no magic bullet. If I had the golden bullet to know how to get back and do the same thing, we just do that. But it's something that, to me, you have to go back to, and it sounds very basic, but the same things that you did last year to get you there, you have to go right back to doing that. And it's so easy, very easy, from the head coach on down to to the filmer to be complacent and to kind of just rest for a little bit. And if you do that, my message has been this whole time, our coaches have, of we're going to get passed up, and that's the key. We don't have the recipe, but we're trying to kind of do everything we did last year, and we changed some things up last year in our between December and summer break, and so hopefully we're moving the right direction, because like I told the kids at the end of spring practice, you don't know until you know, and it's really too late once you know. So hopefully we're working hard, and we just finished up spring and getting ready for our summer workouts, and we're going to keep piecing together the puzzle and see where we are come fall.
Did you, now that it's, time flies, man, but it's 6 months out, did you do anything differently off-season wise to prepare for this chance to repeat, or was it status quo in terms of, hey, this is what we do at Calhoun in the off-season?
Yeah, we try to make it status quo. When we get back from Christmas, like I said, we played all the way up until Christmas break. So when we got back in January, we don't call it an off season. We call it separation season. The message is, how can you? I got that from an Ed Milet podcast a couple of years. How can you separate from yourself? And all the way from being a husband and a father and a coach to down to a player, of how can you separate from yourself last year, and then how can we separate as a team? And that's been the big key this separation season, because you didn't win. You were. So how can we keep separating from that team? So, like I said, it's a work in progress. So we haven't done anything different. We've just tried to hone in on that message of not being complacent, and making sure that we're working just as hard now as we were last year. Because last year at this time, we missed the playoffs 2 years ago. So last year at this time, everybody in the program was ready to play football today. We were taste out of our mouth. So, and I didn't sense that early on getting back from Christmas break. So it was a lot of sleepless nights for myself until we could kind of get the team back into a routine and get them back to where working the way we wanted to work. So, like I said, hopefully we're doing the right things and heading in the right direction.
It's easy to say now, there are certain moments that I want to get back to in terms of some rocky times last year, because it wasn't clean. It wasn't like you went undefeated and everything else. And I'm curious about that 1-3 start and what flipped from then on. We'll get to that in a second. But when you think back to last year, and now that you went through the whole season, what was the biggest challenge that you had to get them to where you want them, where that you thought they could ultimately get to, which was a state title?
Yeah, the biggest challenge when you have things happen in the program and you lose games, the biggest challenge here at Calhoun was just keeping us together and not to other people out there. And that was so we finished last year, missed the playoffs. We start out this year and we're 1-3. A lot of dark times around here, but outside of the program, but inside, it felt a little bit different. We were learning from those losses and not dwelling on those losses. And I think that was a huge key this year, because at the end of the day, when you lose, you're either going to win, you're going to learn something for it. It's just going to be a loss in the loss column. So luckily we were able to learn from each loss this year. And I can't credit our 20 seniors enough. And we had a very eclectic group of seniors. We had, some superstars that went on to play in college. And then we had a lot of guys, probably 8 or 10 that didn't have much of a Friday night role. But to me, what they gave to our program and what they gave to me personally as a coach led us to a state championship, because they understood their role, and that role could be, backup scout team running back, or it could be the guy that's making sure the field's clean and the locker room's clean and the weight room's clean. So we had a bunch of those guys that just loved Calhoun football, and we're obsessed with whatever role that they could get, even though they weren't getting their name called on Friday nights. And that was the most special part to me about this team, and what separated this team from other teams. Everybody, like I said, you've got to have players that go out and play the game and make the plays. But the players behind the scene, the program kids that you hear about all the time, that separates good teams and great teams. And last year we were a great team because of those guys that didn't get their name called and loved their role and did it to the absolute best of their ability.
Yeah, I think the program guys, I mean, I think you're seeing it at the college level too. It's like the programs that have solid foundations with program kids, even with the influx of talent, like there's no question you have to have a certain level of talent to win. Like the blue chip ratio is a thing for a reason. You can't win a national title without being above 50% in the blue chip ratio. Like that's just part of the deal. But you still got to have you have to have great chemistry. You have to have like Tennessee had a starting walk-on safety last year in Will Brooks, and he was fantastic. And he was clearly a well-liked, important member, and he worked his way up. Like you need those guys mixed in. And I think the best programs find ways to balance that. And I think you've done a great job at Calhoun doing that.
Yeah, it's sad to see, at the college level, the whole team chemistry and the team bonding, they have to reset their team.
Yeah.
Not even every year, they reset it a few times. And then the last time, this past portal window, and they're playing a game in a few months with the roster that, like I said, it's just sad to see. And it's tough to see kind of sometimes down on the high school level where, it's people put too much stock into what other programs are doing and what other people, and we got to do this and we got to do this, or I'm going to take to steal LeBron, but I'm going to take my talents here or there. Mm-hmm. That's tough to see, and it's filtering down to every level. And for a while, it didn't affect football quite as much, but now it's getting into that. So hopefully there's an answer to that, because to have great teams and to have teams that go on runs, you've got to have that chemistry. Or, you can have great teams. This is something we talk about all the time as well. You can have a great team here and a great team there, but to have your program to be great, it takes those guys that we had this year, and we've got some next year that may be in the same boat. So hopefully we can they can learn from that. I think I've talked about the guys that didn't play last year more than I did the guys that did. So hopefully our underclassmen learn from that and can find their role, and whatever their role is, embrace it and do it to the best of their ability.
Absolutely. We touched on the 1-3 start there, and then something flipped, and you didn't lose a game for the rest of the season. Did you have an inclination after that 1-3 start that you're like, all right, the record's not great, and I'm sure you had to deal with all kinds of noise, especially with how last year, and then you turn it on. But did you have something internally where you're like, I'm watching the tape and I'm seeing where we're at, like, we're going to be okay, and this is going to be ultimately something that catapults us to the kind of streak that you ended up on?
Yeah, that's kind of a twofold answer, I guess. So the main thing is this, and this doesn't matter what you do, when you're, especially in sports and life in general, I guess, when you're backed up against the wall, you can go two ways. You can start listening to outside people around you and listen to the negativity, or you can, I've said it before, you can double down on what you believe in as a man, and as a coach, and as a program. And that's what we did. We did the latter, and you don't have to change much. You just keep kind of refining what you've got. Now, when you do have those runs of losses that we had, you do start kind of starting to question that, and you can go both ways. And luckily we didn't change anything. We just kept kind of the status quo and kept pushing and kept working. And our seniors, like I said, they were great at pulling us through that. And then really on the flip side of that answer, with the football side, we were kind of discombobulated those first 4 games. We had a lot of weird stuff going on. We had injuries, and we had sicknesses, and we had just different things that had gone on I hadn't experienced in 20 years of high school football. So you could see the writing on the wall if we could kind of get all the pieces back together, and we did that. And like you said, starting game 5, we went on and went on a streak and didn't lose a game again. So just getting that confidence back and not losing the confidence when we were losing. Like I said earlier, we're just starting to learn from it, but didn't have to do much different. We just kind of put all the pieces together, and the kids did a tremendous job of sticking together and not listening to the people around them, because it's tough to do when you're a place that expects to win like we do, and you're not winning. It's difficult to just keep coming back and going to work, and that's what they did. And I can't be more proud of those guys.
I tell folks whether you're in East Tennessee or in Georgia, there are some programs where it's like the Ricky Bobby quote, like if you're not first, you're last. There are some programs that operate like that, and there are some programs that are like, hey, we're happy to be here. We're chugging along, I understand both sides. It's also kind of a blessing where you're like, man, the care, it's good to be at a place that cares and has high expectations, because usually that you need that kind of support to maintain a consistent winner. So it's a catch-22, and it's something that I know you deal with year in, year out, but it's one of those, man, you got a title. Like we're 6 months out, but you got a title, and you talked about like how important your seniors were last year. And the other part of going into a title defense is like guys are gone, and like this is now an opportunity where guys are like, I want to repeat. I want to, like, we just went on a run. We haven't lost a game since September, and like I want to keep this streak going. So I imagine it's going to be a pretty intriguing spring summer position battle for your group, because a lot of guys are like, oh, it's my turn to step up and keep this thing humming, because like we talk about the worries of the disease of me and all that kind of stuff winning a title. But the flip side, the positive way of spinning it is like now you have a lot of guys who are like, man, this is now I want to maintain what we've built and maintain what the guys who just left did, right?
Yeah. So number one, you hit on what I love so much about coaching. Every year is completely unique and different. So each team has a different identity, and that's part of what spring football does for you, because it's the first time you get back together without all those seniors that you've been relying on for the last few years. So seeing people, different kids step up and different roles that we're asking different people to do, and the X's and O's and the positions and all that stuff will come kind of later on. But the spring is really for just seeing what kind of team we have, what kind of team we're going to have, and seeing the how people have grown, how people have separated from the year before. And then, to hit on that last part of, we talked a lot this spring about the standard that class set for us, and the standard. And like I said, that's on the field, off the field, in the classroom. They had a very high standard. And a lot of times, when we come to practice, and this is tough as coaches as well, because, our assistant coaches are in the classroom, and their husbands and their dads, and they're dealing with discipline in the classroom, and they have to come coach football and do that kind of stuff. And the kids are the same way. They've got a lot of stuff going on as high schoolers, and a lot of times we let our feelings get in the way of how we practice and how we perform. So, the big thing this spring was just make sure that we put those standards that those guys have set over our feelings. If we can have our standards over our feelings and come to work every day, and regardless of how we feel, and regardless of how hot it is or how hard it is or what our role is, live up to that standard that those seniors and guys before them had set. So that's been the big key this spring. So like I said, it's awesome. I love that part of football, of getting everybody back together and seeing who's going to step up and who's going to lead. And that leads us right into the summer after separation season in spring. And in the summer, we'll keep growing together as a team and see where we are at the end of it.
When you go back to the week of, in terms of your film study on Jefferson and state title, in the bins, and you're going through the film, and one of the things I love that you do is you do that film study YouTube series with the Touchdown Club, and you'll break it down, man. I can tell you will never get tired of watching and breaking down film. That is, I'm just gonna, from the outside looking in, Clay, I feel like that is, you'll never get tired of it. You're a grinder with that. I mean, when you're looking at Jefferson's film, and they put out some really good players, it's a good program. I mean, you have Sammy Brown, Malachi Starks, like it's a good program. And you're looking at that and you're like, all right, I think we have a good shot here. Like, honestly, looking back, you were like, we felt pretty good about some matchups to like. Did you go, oh man, this is still 50-50? I don't know. Or did you have a pretty good feeling that like they're not going to have answers for some of what we're going to be able to do here?
That's twofold. Number one, they're such a great program. Coach, one of the top coaches in the state of Georgia and the Southeast, and he's been really great with me over the last year. Before we obviously knew that we were going to be playing, he's reached out several times, so he's a class act. So we knew kind of what we were getting into as far as what type of program it is, and I've got a cousin that's on the staff there, and another cousin that was a JV player there. So
y'all talked during the week? How does that work?
So we did a little bit.
Okay.
We get to see each other Thanksgiving and Christmas. So they beat us actually in 2012 for the state championship. So next couple of Thanksgivings were pretty cold, but no, it was great. So we knew exactly kind of the type of program and type of kids they had, and we feel like we're similar to them in a lot of ways across all of our sports and our academics. We feel like it's that's kind of the school that we look to compare ourselves to. So we knew going into that, and then X's and O wise, like you said, you just you look the whole, because that was an extended week. So normally we play Friday and then play the next Friday. Well, we played on a Friday, and then we didn't play again until the next Wednesday. So you had a lot of extensive film work to do, and sometimes you can. I think all coaches have a bad habit of kind of overdoing it. It got to a point where that Wednesday or Thursday, finally was like, we got to stop. We've got some good stuff going in for them and going there, but as a coach, you use everything up until they played LaGrange in the semifinals, and we pulled a formation that LaGrange had ran against them because we felt like we were going to give up some good matchups as well, and we had a few big plays out of it. So yeah, film study's huge, and yes, I do love it. My wife gets upset with me sometimes because with the way we can watch film now, we can watch it anywhere. But no, it's I enjoy doing it, and like I said, I wake up every morning and come in and do it a little bit, even in the times we're not playing. So, but at the end of the day, it comes down to those kids got to go out there and play their tail off, and that's what they did. And we knew it was going to be a 4-quarter football game, and that's luckily what we were able to do is jump out to a 14-0 lead. And then we just kind of held on for dear life for the rest of the time because we knew they were talented enough to come back. But luckily we were able to hold them off.
Non-football stuff as we wrap up here today, Clay.
What you got?
It's summer. Your wife's like, we're not doing this anymore. We're not doing a film study summer. We're not doing it. Money is no object. Where are you taking the fam this summer? Where have you not gone that you want to go?
But number one, when the summer. So when spring gets over, I get about the middle of May to the middle of July to play golf.
Okay.
My first, the first, checklist of looking at where to go, we got to be able to have a golf course. So that's got to be somewhere near a beach. We've been to Myrtle Beach a few times. We've been down to Destin. So somewhere with a beach that the kids can play in, and I can get over and play a little bit of golf for these 2 months. So definitely there, I think would be good. I don't really care what beach. They're all kind of the same to me as long as they're that water comes up and goes
You
back.
say that, and my wife and I went to Maui last summer.
Well,
and let me tell you, Maui's a little bit different. Like, there's some black sand beach, and there's a pretty nice golf course that we sit, like, it was right down the... Look, money is no object. We need to plan the Clay Stephenson family Maui trip, because I'll tell you, you'll be a hit. Like, that's a huge, huge hit. My wife loved Maui. Like, Maui is fantastic.
So that may be, you might have said it for me. That might be the new bucket list trip that we need to take for sure.
There you go. Like, and find a way to like get, maybe you can even find a way to like, Calhoun scouting, like, hey, Hawaii's putting out a lot of talent here these days. It's more of a football. I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn over there in what they're doing in Hawaii. They're taking football more and more seriously over in Hawaii. But yeah, no, can't say enough positive things there.
For getting to watch football on Saturdays and Sunday nights, I'm like, this is my research. I got to do the research.
It's hey, you got to stay on top, man. You're a state champion. You got to use this cachet at this point. Like this is how it goes, man. Like I got to stay ahead. I got to stay ahead and see what they're doing over there. Clay, how do the good folks support everything going on here with Calhoun football this spring and summer?
Yeah, the big thing is CalhounTouchdownclub.com. It's got all of the look on the football tab. It's got a lot of information as well. And like I said, we got great support from our administration all the way down to our touchdown club. Can't say enough about both of them. And you don't have a first class program like we do without great administrative report and our support and the touchdown club. So both those do a great job. So those are two places to check us out. And there's obviously on Twitter the Calhoun football or CHS Jackets football Twitter page is kind of how we keep up to date with most of the world. So those three things right there will get you everything you need to know.
Love it, Clay. Enjoy it. Don't look to 25 yet. Like, just keep enjoying it. I know it's gonna be hard, but enjoy the state title for as long as you can.
Well, look, thanks, Jason. I appreciate it, and hopefully we'll talk again soon with another one coming up or already have one. So appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Clay.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.